Hi, my name is Casey. Welcome to the iHeart Latin channel, lesson number 5, where we are introducing nouns of the 5th declension today. So let's jump right into it. Nouns in the 5th declension. So recall that nouns belong to families called declensions. There are 5 different declensions. So today we're introducing the 5th and final declension. Hooray. If a noun belongs to a family, if they belong to a certain declension, like let's say, for example, a noun belongs in the 1st declension, it always stays there, it doesn't change. So that goes for nouns in the 5th declension as well. These belong to the 5th declension, they're always gonna belong to the 5th declension, they're not gonna change. So let's look at our list here. I've got 3 words up here, so res, rei, which meaning thing, fides, fidei, meaning faith, spes, spei, meaning hope. So how do I know that a noun belongs in the 5th declension? Well, I look at the genitive singular, so the second word you see here. If it ends in ei, that means it belongs in the 5th declension. And it follows the pattern. If I want to find the stem for the 5th declension, I will look again at the genitive singular, and I'm going to drop the ei, and that will give me my stem. So these are the letters that I would drop to find the stem. So you'll notice that for the first word, res, rei, my stem is just it's just an R. For fides, fidei, the stem would be fid, fid. And again, for the last word, spes, spei, my stem would just be sp. Okay, so we found the stems for these 3 words in particular up here. Let's look at the sentence, the practice sentence I have up here on the board. Men saw the faith and the hope of Christ. So if you have your little declension cheat sheet, pull it out. If you don't have this, I will put a link in the description so you can print it out and you can see what we're talking about here. So here we are, the final box here in purple. These are the possible endings for nouns in the 5th declension. So you'll see it's s, a, m, a, and then the plural s, eram, ebis, s, ebis. Again, if you're looking at these endings here, you might say to yourself, I see 3 different endings that end in a long E with a macron over the E, es. So again, how do I know if it's nominative singular or nominative plural or accusative plural? You'll see that they're all spelled exactly the same. And again, the answer there is context. So the more you get familiar with Latin, the more you practice translating and reading, the easier it will get to determine exactly, is something nominative or is it accusative, is it singular, is it plural? So just hang in there. Okay, so let's look back at our sentence here. Men saw the faith and the hope of Christ. So if I look at this sentence, let's try to determine the proper forms of our 5th declension words that we can plug into the sentence here. So we are going to start with our question IDs. Again, if you don't have this little cheat sheet, I'll put a link in the description. You can print that out. Just helps us to identify what roles these nouns are playing in the sentence. So we'll start at the top. We'll ask the first question, who or what is this sentence about? Well, it's about the men, right? They're the ones who are performing the action. So this is my subject. And in Latin, my subjective case over here is nominative. So this is my nominative case. Is this word men singular or plural? Well, we're talking about more than one man, so this is plural. And is it masculine, feminine, or neuter? Remember, when we're talking about nouns, we need to think about 3 different things, G and C, gender, number, case. All right, I know that the word for men, because I've memorized this, is homo hominis. And I know that that is a 3rd declension word. I know that since it's referring to a masculine person or thing, that it is masculine. And if I want to find the stem of the 3rd declension, what do? I drop the is in the genitive singular. So my stem for homo hominis would be homin, and then we'll put the correct ending on. Okay, the next question I ask, so I found my subject. The next question I ask, let's find my verb. What is the subject doing or being? So what are the men doing? They're seeing, right? So there's my verb. And let's see if I have a direct object. Can I answer this question? The men saw who or what? What were they seeing? Well, actually, they're seeing 2 things here, right? They're seeing the faith and the hope. So in English, this is what we would call a compound direct object. That is, there are actually two direct objects and they're sharing a subject. So the action is being transferred to two different things. So here we know this is a direct object, right? It's receiving the action of the men seeing. The men are seeing the faith. And what is my direct object case? It's the accusative. So I know that this is accusative. Is faith singular or plural? It's singular. And is it masculine, feminine, or neuter? Almost all nouns in the fifth declension are feminine. So if you think about it like in a row, all the declensions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the ends would be feminine, right? The first and the fifth declension are feminine. The fourth and the second are masculine. And then the third is masculine and feminine and neuter. Now, I know that there are some neuter nouns in the second declension as well, but that kind of helps me remember. So it goes feminine, masculine, neuter, masculine, feminine, neuter. Okay, so I know that my word here for faith is feminine, and I have another direct object. So I have another accusative. Hope is singular, and I know since it's in the fifth declension, it's feminine. Of Christ. So I've got one more noun here, right? Now in English, we would consider this a preposition and an object of the preposition, but you kind of have to ask yourself, is this showing possession? Are we talking about something that belongs to Christ? If we're talking about possession, then I wouldn't consider this a preposition. I would consider it a possessive. So that's what's really kind of tricky about Latin is their of case. Like I said, in English, we would consider that a preposition. So you might look at this and think, oh, okay, that's ablative, right? But if you could put an apostrophe S on this, if I could say the men saw Christ's hope and faith, or faith and hope, then it's actually genitive. It's possessive, and we would put it in the genitive case. So that's really tricky. And I think I mentioned this in one of the previous lessons. Usually when I am starting out teaching Latin to students, I always use the apostrophe S because this kind of gets too confusing. So normally in Latin, when you see the word of, it's possessive. Not always, but at least now in these kind of initial lessons, let's just assume it's genitive. So we're going to put this in the genitive case. This is my possessive case. Christ is singular and he's masculine. Okay, let's plug in the right word. So what is a nominative plural masculine ending for homo hominis? Well, I know my stem is homin. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to look in the third declension. I'm going to look in the nominative plural, and I'll see it's a long es, right? So homines. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, hang on a second. We're looking at the fifth declension today, and there are loads of fifth declension endings that are also a long es. So how do I know if something belongs in the third declension or the fifth declension? Because that changes, right? It could change the meaning of the sentence. Well, that's why you have to memorize which nouns belong to which declension, because you're right. If, let's say for example, this was a fifth declension word, you might be tempted to think this is accusative plural. But since you've memorized that it belongs to the third declension, you know, oh, okay, this is a nominative plural. Okay. So the men saw the faith and the hope of Christ. So we're going to put, remember our verb's going to come last. We're going to put our direct objects next. So let's look at the word for faith. It's fides, fidei. I've already found my stem. You drop the ei in the genitive singular. So here's my stem, F-I-D. And then let's look at an accusative singular ending. So come down here, the very last box here. Accusative singular would be em, m. So it's fidem. My word for and is et. And let's find the right form of the word hope. So I know that my stem for hope is just an SP. And we'll follow the same pattern. We'll look for the accusative singular, which would be an EM. That's the correct ending there, spam. And now I'm going to include my possessive, so my genitive singular. The word for Christ is Christus, Christi. So looking at this word, I know, oh, this is a second declension word because the genitive singular ends in a long I. I'm going to drop that. That's going to give me my stem, right? Christ. And then I will look, second declension, genitive singular is a long I. So we'll just put that right back on. Christi. And the word for saw, in this case, is vident. We'll get into verbs a little bit later. Oops, sorry everybody. I think this was perhaps the 7th episode I shot on this day. So the correct verb here should be viderent, not vident. That's my bad. But you guys probably knew that, right? Moving on. So that's what this sentence would look like with the proper Latin form. Okay, any questions? You can leave them in the comment section. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. That helps me out. Also hit the bell. You will find out when new episodes and new lessons are posted. Thank you for watching. Voilate.